A very strange case at a forest enterprise in Jingshan City, China. This is quite complicated because about a month after the perpetrator commits the crime and disposes of the body. Only then did someone discover the corpse, so all traces at the scene were erased. Due to the continuous rains, a lot of people have been put under suspicion. And investigate the incident discovered close to China's National Day. And the perpetrator ruthlessly killed both mother and child, making Chinese public opinion extremely angry and boiling. More than 100 police were mobilized to investigate and set up a special task force. Here, we invite you to listen to this case with us. On the morning of September 28, 2018, a forest ranger from Tianbao Farm running Jinshan City, Hubei Province came here to check as usual. This is a bare hill area with little grass but with large bushes with a rather steep terrain. Usually this area doesn't have any unusual incidents worth noting. And it's also quite large, so the ranger only goes to check the entire area once a month. However, when he was walking towards the hilly area, a strong smell caught his attention. Ranger looking for the direction of this MUI and thinking there must be some dead animal. The ranger kept his toes down while walking to avoid slipping. When he went down a steep hill, when he walked a few more steps, he panicked. When I saw the dead body of a woman with long hair and a child about 3 years old lying next to each other. Because the scene in front of him was so scary that it startled the ranger. He slipped and fell, almost fell on top of the dead body. Right now, if it's a soul of 10, it should have flown 8 to 9 parts. Anyone in this situation can only think of running. He reached out and was quickly grabbed by a nearby branch to quickly climb up the slope. That he immediately called the police to report the case. Upon receiving the news from the police, ranger quickly arrived at the crime scene. Through the inspection of the scene, they found 2 decomposing corpses. Multiple body parts, a body of a fully naked adult woman. Both hands are tied behind the back and legs are also tied. The mouth is taped. Lying next to this body was the body of a little girl wearing a white duffel dress. Both of these bodies have no obvious injuries. The police speculated that the 2 bodies were likely mother and daughter. They were thrown down here after being murdered. When the coroner arrives at the scene through the initial communication between the police and the forensics, they both assumed that these 2 had been dead for a few months. So the body was rotten to a serious degree. Even the hair was peeled off part of the victim's skull. They no longer recognize the facial features of the deceased. Fingerprints cannot be identified. The police were also unable to know the specific identity of the victim. Due to no identity card, no bank card, no cell phone, no clothes to identify. Through the costumes, after the forensic doctors took samples and brought the 2 bodies for autopsy. The results of the forensic report showed that the initial assessment of the time of death was incorrect. The victim died only about a month ago because the weather was hot and rainy, causing the body to be exposed directly to the open air to decompose more strongly than usual. Based on the peeling and discoloration of the victim's nail polish, also gave the same results, so the forensics confirmed that the victim died only about a month. DNA test results in maternal and child bloodline. The mother has a short stature, about 1.5 m tall, about 40 years old. There are many false teeth in the mouth. Left hand wears a silver ring with long hair dyed golden brown at the top. The body of a girl is 98 centimeters long, about 3 to 4 years old, wearing a white dress on the victim's body with no obvious injuries. Therefore, the police agency is temporarily unable to make an accurate judgment about the cause of death of the 2 victims, but suspected of being strangled. On the other hand, the police also invited ranger surnamed Vuong, who directly discovered the case, to look for more clues. This person told the police that this camp is in a remote area. It is not easy to get around due to the high slope and many hills, so very few people come here, except for the staff of the SFE. After learning the time of death of the deceased, the police focused on searching for surveillance cameras from a month ago on the roads leading into this area. But it's remote here and the village's winding mountain road doesn't have a surveillance system. After trying to search, they found a surveillance camera on this road but 10 kilometers away from where the body was found. And the end result made them extremely disappointed, because when testing the surveillance video storage from 1 month ago, The new data was overwritten and the police did not find any valuable clues. So who killed the mother and daughter? What is the purpose of the murder? Is it because of the money or because of a personal conflict? Why would the killer be so cruel to even a 3 to 4-year-old kid? The body of a woman without clothes. Oh. So is this a case of sexual assault and murder of the victim? Compared with the list of information about victims reported missing nationwide within half a year but could not find a match. The police did not find the two's DNA. From the database on the police system, the police have offered a reward of 20,000 yuan for those who provide useful information to solve the case. At this moment, there is an informant that a while ago he read a notice to find someone on the WeChat group in Jinshan City. Said that a mother and daughter ran away from home at the same time and age as the victim and the girl who died. The police quickly determined that the person who posted the message looking for a wife and children was a man of nearly 50 years old. A month ago his wife, after a big argument with her husband, took her daughter away. He searched for a few days with no results, so he asked for the help of the online community. However, when they contacted the police of this area, they received information that the man's wife and children had returned home safely. So this clue has no value. At this point, the police question why the bodies of mother and daughter are dumped in this remote area. Usually this area is very rare, so very few people are familiar with the area. Here if the killer brought 2 corpses here to dispose of it, it might be because he knows the terrain here. So it is possible to localize those who are familiar with the topography of this area, which are the rangers of Tianbao Forest School. These people know the area best. So who is the most suspicious of the rangers? Here, the police first determine that the perpetrator must have a vehicle to transport the body to the funeral. The road to the top of the hill here is quite narrow and big cars can't go up. However, with small vehicles or motorbikes, it is possible to reach the disposal point. In this way, the suspect's portrait delineates a number of factors. First, that this person works or lives in Tianbao Lam Truong. The second is owning a small car or motorbike. Secret police investigation discovered a fired worker surnamed Zhang. Was laid off over a year ago and now he is working for a small business in Wuhan. Colleagues are not sympathetic to Truong Tuan because he likes to play with women. Although Truong Tuan no longer works in the forest farm as he still has a place to live here. So sometimes he will take a woman to live on a farm in the woods. Many of his co-workers have seen that woman. She is about 1.5 m tall, which is very suitable for the height of the female body found. Truong Tuan also had a controversy with this woman due to his flirtatious habit. A lot of people can testify to this. Although during the investigation the SFE staff only confirmed that there was a woman whose identity they did not show up and there was no 4-year-old girl. However, Jinshan police do not want to ignore any special clues when following Truong Tuan's recent actions. They found that the last time he returned to this forest area was in early September, which is very suitable for the time when 2 people died and were dumped in this barren hill. So Truong Tuan has all 3 factors. One is very familiar with the vicinity of the forest farm, the other is the means of transportation are small cars. The third is that he once brought a 1m5 tall woman here to live and quarrel. Soon after, the police also conducted a search of Truong Tan's house in the Lam Truong area. They found things like duct tape and thin lanyards in the house. At the same time, the police also collected several long hairs of a woman that fell on the bed. At this time, the police began to question Truong Tan about why he returned to Jingshan from Wuhan in early September. He explained that because the car needs an annual inspection because it was previously purchased and registered here, he will return at this time even though he no longer works here. What about adhesive tape and shoelaces? He said every employee in the forestry farm almost has these at home. And they can be used at work. It also makes sense when the police asked the woman who lived with him before. He said this woman's last name is Duong. She is currently in Yuchang and he is willing to call this girl to confirm. About Truong Tan's answer, the police have also checked it carefully and what he said is all true. Even that woman was found by the police who was still alive and working at a garment factory in Yuchang. The long hairs on the bed also showed a DNA test that did not match the body found at the scene. So once again the police went astray. At this time, The only thing found on the woman's body was a silver ring worn on the left ring finger of the left hand with 5 decorative hearts. This ring has been discolored due to exposure to corpses and rain and sun for a long time. But the police and forensics still determined it was made of silver metal. Why did the perpetrator remove all of the victim's clothes and personal belongings, waste, but did not remove the silver ring? If it's for the money, he should check the victim's jewelry. But if it's not for the money, what is it? More than 100 police have been mobilized to investigate this case and set up a special task force for the case. They split up to investigate to determine the identity of the victim from multiple sources of information. While another group of policemen is tasked with opening an in-depth investigation of the silver ring, which is considered the only clue at the scene at the moment. But after bringing the ring to many jewelry stores to ask the police, still could not find a way to identify the victim's identity. After a while going to many gold and silver shops to ask. There was a shop owner who looked closely at the ring and said it was a handmade product made with old technology. If you look at it, you can see that the thickness of the ring is not uniform. Not the mass-produced molds or wax injection molds of large factories. So this ring can be made in a small shop in some craft workshop. After learning about the news, the police immediately conducted an investigation into all the gold, silver, and gems factories in the area, paying special attention to small workshops and making all the steps by hand. After a lot of efforts, there is this shop owner. After looking closely at the ring, he told the police that only his shop has this model of ring. He still remembers it quite well because this incident was not too long ago when there were 2 people, 1 man and 1 woman. Men in their 50s, women in their 40s, they come to buy a ring. But instead of choosing an existing ring, they asked to choose a custom model and different from the shop owner. He thought that the South would order a gold ring for his girlfriend, but they only ordered 1 ring, so the money for processing was equal to the silver value of the ring. And to this day he is still very impressed. A few days later they came back to pay and take the ring that was ordered. They haven't come back since then. The policeman hurriedly asked if he had saved their phone numbers or remembered anything about their identities. The boss shook his head and replied no. The boss's words brought the police investigation back to the original point again. However, the store's camera recorded the image of this couple. The woman's age and height completely match the body found at the forestry farm. Only thing is because the camera is not really clear and can only observe. So now the police are also calling it like looking at the image on the camera. But their personal information is completely unidentifiable. The deadlock situation of the case. Now the police are once again holding a meeting to analyze and discuss the case. Currently, all the clues have pointed to the number 0. In order to solve the case as soon as possible, the police have agreed that it is necessary to strengthen the search and investigation of the area around the crime scene. Pay special attention to those who have a criminal record and are familiar with the terrain. Last time, besides Truong Tan, a ranger with many doubts was questioned and clarified, but there was another man who was also recently reported to be suspected by the people because of his criminal record. Although he doesn't live in the forest area, he also lives near Tianbao. Should be very familiar with the terrain here and many times entered the forest area to steal. His name was changed in early 2018 to move out of this area after Lam Truong Tianbao and Lam Truong Tianbao stole trees and were handled by the police, but where exactly he transmitted it, the villagers do not know. After investigating, the police learned that he had committed theft many times. And he was only released after serving his prison term in 2015. Moreover, he has an electric tricycle that can move easily in this hilly terrain. That is completely consistent with the following factors of the first suspect being familiar with the forest terrain. The second is that he has a tricycle tram that can easily move in the narrow trail terrain of the forest area, and the third thing is that he has a criminal record. At this point, the police conduct an in-depth investigation with Tan to see if it has anything to do with the case. And found out about 3 months ago that Tan was driving his tricycle. Then Tong seriously injured a man named Lu Weiken who didn't have a driver's license and ran away. Right after that, when the police looked at the accident records, they recognized the face of the man Tan hit. They have a lot in common with the man who went to the gold and silver shop and put a silver ring that the victim wore on his finger. According to the shop owner's testimony, recorded by the camera, They quickly searched for this man and found that he was still hospitalized due to a very serious injury to his leg, and is currently learning to walk for rehabilitation. When he was found, the police showed him the silver ring. He also realizes that this is the ring that he himself ordered for his girlfriend. Her name is Truonghong. Lu Wei also added information that 44-year-old Truonghong has a daughter who is almost 4 years old. That's the base in the ring. The victim's height is about the age of a 4-year-old girl, and the time of loss of contact between Lu Wei and Changhong is very likely. Truonghong and her 4-year-old daughter are the two bodies that were found in Tianbao Lam. Truong is really extremely valuable information about the identity of the victim that the police have spent a lot of effort to find. When there is information about Hong's hometown, a group of police officers on duty will go to Hong's school to take DNA samples of her parents, identify the corpse and return results as blood-related. The dead person is the Hong school. So why hasn't the process reported her missing for over a month? Because Truonghong has been divorced 3 times and she lives alone. Truonghong has 2 eldest sons, 9 years old, who is currently living with his father as his first husband. The third husband's 4-year-old daughter is raised by Truonghong. Perhaps because of the guilt of her miserable life, Hong school rarely returns to her hometown or contacts her parents. Back to the police investigation team at the hospital. Is this man named Lu Wei the culprit? Of course not, guys, because according to his medical records, he's been hospitalized since being hit by Tong 3 months ago until now. Still learning to walk with assistive devices, he can't walk like normal. How can he kill people and dispose of corpses with painful and dragging legs like that? The doctor also confirmed that he was always in the hospital during his treatment. When the police asked about his accident, Lu Wei said that one night in May when Wei was staying at Hong's rented house, suddenly a strange man came into the house to curse and beat jealousy. Which 6 later found out that it was Gi Tan. But now Truonghong quickly chased Tan away and explained to 6 that it was just an ex-boyfriend. Lu Wei didn't care too much, but half a month later, Mr. Tan drove a tricycle straight into it to avenge his love. Then Tan ran away and now the police still haven't caught him. So who killed Hong school? Is it because Nia Tan hates his ex-girlfriend, so he took action? At this time, a nurse met privately and told the investigating police that patient Lu Wei had a daughter named Lu Xiaofeng. Tiu Huang is more than 20 years old this year. This girl has never objected to her father and Truonghong's girlfriend. She feels that her father is old and it is good to find someone to live with. We could take care of him together, but when his father was in such a bad accident that he almost had to have his legs amputated. Tiu Huang learns that the romantic relationship with Gi Tan is the man who caused a heavy accident for her father because of jealousy. Then she rushed in and slapped Truonghong repeatedly in the face and loudly cursed that it was because of you that my father was injured so badly. It's also because you're going with someone else that my dad has to lie down. When I get beaten up by a girl who's only my child's age, I get angry and don't give up. Grabbed Tiu Huang and wrestled with her. 2 women, one is the patient's girlfriend and the other is the patient's daughter, had a violent fight in the hospital room. Finally, the nurse in the hospital called the police to solve the problem. After that, Truonghong also stopped visiting Lu Wei and also stopped contacting him. The nurse's words led the police to begin to question whether Lu Xiaofeng was motivated to commit the crime because he was angry with the woman whose relationship caused her father to be seriously injured. Tiu Huang is quite petite and she is also often in the hospital taking care of her seriously injured father. And Tiu Huang is also not familiar with the terrain of the natural treasure area. It is also not feasible to put the factor of having accomplices to help because the terrain of this area is quite special and difficult. So the police do not ask much questions about Tiu Huang, but still let people silently follow her. Besides, the man named Gi Tan is also in the sights of the police because he has a criminal record, well versed in the area's topography. Moreover, Gi Tan has a very violent personality because of jealousy. He uses his car to cause an accident for his rival to be seriously injured. With such a personality, in his anger, he could also kill Changhong and the 4-year-old girl. So who is the real killer? At this time, the police arrived in Gi Tan's hometown. They learned that Tan once brought a woman and wanted to marry her. Moreover, The woman's body features are basically the same as the one found in Lam Truong. The police team investigating in Truong Hong's hometown also reported an important information that Truong Hong's granddaughter told the police. Truong Hong once talked on the phone with her that Hong School wanted to buy a house to live with her lover, so she would withdraw money from her savings book. But then this granddaughter called Hong School a few times but couldn't get through. So where is this money? Has Truong Hong bought a house? And when the police opened an investigation into the city council, they discovered an important clue. In September 2018, i.e. at the exact time that the case you guys are dead, Tan bought a property in Tiansun. However, Gi Tan does not have a fixed job without a stable income. How can he buy a house? The police went to the bank to investigate his finances. The results show that since the beginning of September, Gi Tan's bank account regularly has a deposit of 10,000 or 20,000 yuan each time. At the same time, Hong's bank account from September 2nd to September 8th was also withdrawn the corresponding amount. According to the bank's surveillance camera on September 2nd, Hong and a man went to an ATM to withdraw 20,000 yuan. From September 3rd onwards, only this man left to withdraw money. Every time this person withdraws money, this person wears a different outfit, wears a mask, but still wears the same shoes. That's Gi Tan. On the night of October 20th, 2018, Tan was arrested at a train station. After being interrogated with the evidence found by the police, he admitted to killing Hong and the girl. He testified that after Hong and Lu Yufang had a fight at the hospital, Hong was very angry when his daughter hit him and broke up with Lu Wei. She resumed her relationship with him. The two planned to buy a house and live together. However, on the night of September 2nd, the two argued fiercely because Hong accidentally mentioned and compared him to Lu Wei. After that, the two continued to have a fierce conflict because they bought a house together to live together, but Tan did not have any money. All deposits and sales are Hong School's money. In anger, both pride and jealousy, Tan strangled and killed Truong Hong. He then worries that he will make others quickly realize the disappearance of the Hongda school who ruthlessly killed the child. Tan searched for cards and money from Hong School. He also removed all of the victims' clothes to destroy all the identifying clues. But in a hurry he forgot the silver ring. Next, Tan asked to carry two corpses to the Tianbao forestry area to leave behind. Then he continued to hide. When the police went to Tan's house to search, they found a rope of the same type as the one that tied the victim at the scene with the bank card of the Hong School. With the serious crime he committed, the city was sentenced to death. Yes, in this case many times the clues came to a standstill, but in the end the culprit was caught. Tan is a wise and sensible person. He knows how to hide the identity of the body from removing all the words from his personal page to killing a 4-year-old child to cover the clues. Take the victim's body to a desolate place where only a ranger will check it out once a month. It will be difficult to detect the body early. A case that seems to be deadlocked because it is difficult to identify the victim's identity in a country of billions of people. Like that, but after all the calculations, he did not discover the silver ring on the victim's hand that another boyfriend bought as a gift. Just like the sentence wisdom is not equal to heaven, his ingenuity can only prolong the investigation and escape process, but cannot help him escape and in the end still have to pay the death penalty. This is also a proof of the sentence Tianbao-Farm. Because as long as anything happens, this case will be very difficult to solve. For example, if Lu Wei did not give the silver ring, the police would not have this clue to find the victim's identity. If Tan didn't get jealous and took a tricycle to cause a serious accident for Lu Wei, the police would not have Lu Wei's accident record for the police to identify and find this man. Like the one who appeared in the camera of the gold shop. Everything has cause and effect. If you sow the wind, you will reap the storm. Tan had to pay with his life for his cruel deeds. A man who went from stealing at the forestry farm to taking a car to cause an accident, seriously injuring his enemy, killing his girlfriend and a poor child, a criminal. That there is no crime that dare not do. Yes sir.